we really don't have much to do. Okay, just so you know, there's not much code left. What I'd like you to do first, if you don't mind, is go out in your browser window, go out to github.com. I don't know if you're automatically logged in or not, so if you have to log in, log in. But and then after github.com, I want you to go here, please, to /JP/Scott/Rankin/BMI Androids, like that. Can you see that okay, or should I make that bigger on this? If you put that in and you hit enter, you should get this. These are my 4 versions of what we're working on. And the first one even is not screwed up, just so you know. Now, you know this already, but just in case you didn't, if you go to code and you download the zip, you'll have 4 versions. Okay? I probably should have just started with the one I already created, but it's fine. Like I said, I've had problems today. You've already seen them. So, questions on that? Okay. Then let's go and add the rest of the code in, because like I said, there really is not much. So I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to go back into my main activity file. I did during the break, if you look on the screen, I did go in and it still looks ugly, but I fixed all my constraints. I still have to line this stuff up. But right now, all I've got is this thing that says you should be using autofill. I don't even know exactly what that is. And I still got this one because in my text view, I still have that text in there. All right. So let's put in the rest of the code. So I'm back in main activity.java. We came in here. So in here, I'm converting the values in the height and weight text boxes, or I should say edit texts, to integers. Okay. Then we did the height validation. Then we did the width validation. Then we actually calculated the BMI. All right, so we've got all that done. Now we have to figure out what our status is. Okay. So I'm going to put another comment here that says calculate BMI status, which in other words is underweight, optimal weight, overweight, or obese. Okay, and it's pretty much the way you think it would be, in that if the BMI is less than our min optimal. All right, and I'm going to put comments here because it makes more sense to me to do this. So I'm going to say BMI was less than 18.5. So I know if that's the case, the status is equal to underweight. Now, by now, like I said, you've had this stuff and had this stuff. That should just make sense to you. All right. Else if the BMI is less than, what was our next one? Is it min over? Not min optimal, sorry. Min over. So this says BMI was greater than or equal to 18.5 and less than 25.0. So if that's the case, the status is equal to optimal weight. Else, if the BMI is less than the min obese, then again we know that the BMI was greater than or equal to 25 and less than 30. So if that's the case, you're overweight. And if you're not any of the other ones, the only thing that's left is obese. We could make another else if check here if we wanted to, but we should, it should all be handled already. So I'm again, whoops, put in one last comment here that says BMI was greater than or equal to 30.0. So the status is equal to obese. And again, we could have made those, we could have done some work as far as trying to make those things constants or whatever. I think it's fine the way it is. So there's only really one thing left to do, and that is to build our output string. So I'm going to build up the output string. We call that result. If you remember, that was way up here. That was this result. So notice what's gray. Result. That's the only thing we're not using right now of all this stuff that we put up here. All right. So we'll start filling that up right now. So result equals height plus this. Here we'll use get text. Height text dot get text dot toString, and then we'll put a line feed at the end. All right, so that'll be the first one. The next one we want a plus equals because we're concatenating onto the string, and this will be weight text, not height text, weight text. Then next, we'll say BMI. And we're going to try this. This should work. So we'll see. We're going to say this. String dot format %, 0.2f, which means it's going to be a number with 2 decimal places in it. And that's BMI. And again, we'll add to the end of that, we'll add a line feed. Finally, result plus equals BMI status plus, and that's just the status. It's already a string, so we don't have to do anything special with that. And now, last line of code. Assign output string to the answer text field. All right, so answer text dot set text result. And that's everything. Now, when we work on this tomorrow, we're going to do 2 things. First of all, try to fix the ugliness that's in there. All right, and then we're going to modularize this. Okay. Now, I do want to show you one last thing, but I want to wait. Are you caught up, Keegan? Okay, I want to wait until Angie, and just take your time. We're not in any hurry here at all. Now, I'm not going to run it just because of the fact that it looks so god-awful ugly, but I want to show you something. Let me do a file, save all, and I'm going to close this project. Okay, and I'm going to open an existing project from my desktop. So I've got BMI calculator right here, JPS. I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to go to the desktop, and I'm going to open up from BMI Androids. This is where we are right now, is on version 1. All right, so I'm going to click there. So you have this, is what I'm telling you. You now have this. I'm going to go over to Android view. I think I opened the wrong file, so hold on. Okay. Close this. Open existing project. What's that? That should do it. Okay. I've got this comment. If you want it, I'd be more than happy to send you that. You might even have it already. I don't know. But what I want to show you is when I did this the first time, I did nothing with activity main. As far as I did nothing with the constraint layout. I just put the stuff out there. See that? Nothing is wrong here. And I just want to show you, once you fix yours and you run it, this is what should happen. And if you don't want to take the time to fix it, then just use the one that I've already given you. That's fine too, because you've put the code in. So this is what it looks like. Now notice this, I tried to map these up. That was the problem, see that? And the stats, that's this, there is a text box in here, but you know what the problem with that is. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some valid stuff just so you see it. So 111, click calculate, and it works. All right, and clear works. See that? So I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to put in something that should be optimal weight. Oh, I guess it's not optimal weight. Now it's optimal weight. Okay, I'm going to put it in again. You already saw it, but I'll put in 200. That's overweight. And I'll put in another one here, 333. That's obese. See how they all work? All right. Now I'm going to run it again, and I'm going to put in 111 for the weight, but I'm going to put in a god-awful number for height on purpose. Now watch down here. Why isn't it showing it to me? Oh my goodness. It should be showing me the toast here, and it's not. All right, I don't know why it's not, but it's not. Okay, but it is not taking it. Okay. When I did this the first time, no problem with it. Everything, of course, when I did it at home by myself, it worked fine. All right, now with this edit text, what do I have here? It's giving me a couple different things. It evidently, when I did the edit text, when I did put in, I didn't use a hint. All right, or if I used a hint, I don't think I put it in my strings file. I'm just telling you that by no means is this perfect. So see, I didn't put it in there. If I'd have done that, so if I come in here and put in that height message and that weight message, then these two things will go away. Okay. So what I'd like you to do, and there are so many YouTube things, etc. out there. Believe me, I've watched a lot of them. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. What I'd recommend is that you go out to developer.android.com. And once you're out there, there should be a search. And I'm going to search here for Constraint Layout. Okay? And I actually looked at at least these first two. All right? So build a responsive UI with Constraint Layout. All right. There's also, I think this is about it's between 5 and 6 minutes.
In Android Studio 2.2.
All right. But they talk more about it. And they're going to give you much better than I just gave you. All right. I do not expect you to be where everything clicks and boy, that just totally made sense. All right. But when, if we start going through this and you continuously have problems with constraint layout, All right. I would say keep working on it, but if for some reason you know, I can't. All right, then you might want to take a look at the other layouts. For instance, there's a relative layout. There's a table layout. There's a grid layout. All right, there used to be at least a bag layout and a card layout. There are a bunch of different layouts. So my question to you right now, so we're not very far into this, but right here, but and please be honest, is there anything in the code here that didn't make sense? Anything? All right. So if I'm going to grab this, I'm just going to send this to you in just a bit. So if you do want to put that in, you can. But again, you don't have to. I'm just going to grab it, put it here, throw it in there. I'll send that to you in just a minute. But I want to very quickly show you. I don't know why that toast isn't showing, but yesterday I made some changes and it seems to be screwing up everything on my whole system by doing those changes. And I don't know how, I don't know why. But I'm going to come in here. I just want to show you what we'll do then tomorrow. All right, so this, I'm going to open up version 2. Looks the same, except what you see in here is, notice now what calculate the BMI does. Do you notice how it's modularized? So it checks and it says valid flag equals, so we're doing this and we're validating the height and then we're validating the weight. And if the height is valid and the weight is valid, then we're calling calculate BMI, and calculate BMI is in its own routine. All right. And in fact, I've got there it is right there. Just so you know, this editor, when you do this, and you know, notice how I put it onto just a couple lines because I like it better like that. But the editor itself will go and collapse it into one line like that when it can. I mean, you can always do this like I just did, or you can just leave it. I'm just telling you that. And here's the status, and here's the display. So it's the same stuff that we did before. It's exactly the same. All right, my names are different because I actually used in there, when you go and take a look at this, I call them edit text height, edit text weight, button, etc. So that's that one. Then, and I do want to take some time to go over this with you tomorrow. All right? And hopefully you don't consider that to be a waste of your time. In version 3, I know 4 was really changed, but I want to check here. I started to add some color. So I added my own color. And you know this, you probably do, but I'm from Wisconsin and I'm a big Packer guy. So that's Packer gold and Packer green. All right, so I used that. All right, other than that, I don't remember if I changed a heck of a lot in here or not. It does not look like it. But for the last one, and this is what you saw yesterday, Angie. Now, when I did this, I did all of this last weekend. All right. And when I did this, to be honest with you, when I got to version 4, I was kind of sick of doing this. All right. But what I want to show you is I came in here and in the drawable folder, see this, the one I mentioned to you before, I added obese JPEG, optimal weight JPEG, overweight JPEG, and underweight JPEG. They're all different sizes. You got to start thinking, this may not look that big, but it is a certain pixel amount. And once you put it on your phone, I mean, if I hold that up to my phone right now, it's going to take from about right here on down, and I got a bigger phone. So if you've got a small phone, so really I should have gone in, and these are all, or at least 2 of them are different sizes. So I didn't, they're, like I said, I could have made it much better. But I'm going to try this just to see if this one works. And this is the problem I had. See that, how I told you with the lowercase in there? Don't do that. But when I put it uppercase, then it got confused too. So I don't know what it's doing here. I want that stuff. Okay, let's close it and start it again. So on this one again, I centered the stuff. I made this, I actually made the text too big. I gave it an opening. So it's got an opening image there. And if I come in again with 72 and 111, I click calculate, you can already see this. It puts up that guy. But I only have a certain amount of real estate, so I probably should have made a lot of this stuff smaller than I did. That's why I pushed the buttons down. All right, ClearWorks. Notice if I do it again, 72, and I put in something that is optimal weight. So if I put in something that's optimal weight and click that, I get that. And if I clear and put it in again, that's overweight, not 2090, but 200, well, that should work. That's overweight. You can see that guy. And then finally, when I do it again, and I calculate, that's the obese one. Now I'm going to try it one more time, and I'm going to put in something here that's totally out of whack. I'm going to click calculate. It's not showing my toes. I don't have a clue as to why that is. Like I said, I changed something in here. The other thing I did in here, and I told this yesterday to Angie, but I want you to see it, Keegan, and that is when you run this, I've tried, I did come in here, and if you notice, or did I remove it? I put this in a try-catch block, see this? And I tried to have it check for a number format exception for every kind of exception. The problem is right now, when I click calculate like this, it doesn't stop, but it's more or less locked up. Once I did that, my toast stopped working and everything else stopped working. So I went out and I had earlier Googled, how to, if you have no input in an error text or in an edit text, how do you get the program basically to not break? And I tried at least a half dozen different things that were out on the internet. None of them worked. All right. So that's where we are. So tomorrow we will just, for lack of better words, just continue on with this. Now, last thing, we still have an hour. So I'm going to just quickly show you, this is what I'm giving you. This is what you'll do for your first assignment. The good news is you've done stuff like this before. All right, this is what I gave last year as well. So I got to find it. Let's see. I think, unless Mr. Smith changes, and I don't think he's going to, I think this assignment that you're going to do, that and what we just did, is harder than what your test will be. All right, I think your test you're going to find is probably easier than this. So it should be, is it in there? No. Is it in here? No. Then it's in here. Type. I will run off a copy of this for both of you, but I want you to see this. First of all, this is the criteria. All right, we're going to do that guessing game thing. All right, just again, so it's stuff that you've already done, but I want you to get used to it. And does it work? If it works, you get 10 points for that. Does that make sense? All right, does it handle invalid inputs? So in other words, if you put in something out of range, does it handle it correctly? Next, have you used sound or correct logic? Now, you would lose points if you did it the way we just did this one, because we put everything in one routine. So, I mean, did you modularize? Did you use constants? Did you follow pretty much what we've been talking about, for the last whatever? And finally, does it have an overall professional look and feel? I've done this before where I've had people, no joke, not here, but at the school I used to teach at, that people would write Android apps and they would have a black background and they would have grayish text you could barely read. I mean, then they lost points. Plus, I think black background with white text, in the right circumstance, it's really cool. But in the wrong circumstance, it's not. All right, I'd rather have you pick two different colors, not black and white, not white and black, but pick two other things. So the first one, as it says, and I'll run this off for you in just a minute. Create an Android app, call it Guess, where you guess a random number between 1 and 100. You design it yourself. So, I mean, I've given you here, you could make it look like this, for example. I just went in Balsamic and did this. So this would be, you could put if you wanted to, but I didn't even put in a text view. I just put in an edit text here with hint text in it. That's, that said enter guess. You click calculate, so let's say it's 50 and you put in 60. It should come in here and it should, instead of saying you guessed it, that should be you guessed, but it should say guess too low or guess too high. And then if it took you 6 guesses and that was the right number, you should have that. If you put in a guess that's out of range, so that's negative or greater than 100, this should come up as a toast. All right, so that'll be the first one. And the second one, you've got 2 choices. You'll create a calculator, okay? You can either create it like this, and this uses what's called a spinner, but we didn't talk about a spinner yet. But if you want to go in and look it up, you can. So you'll put a number here, you'll have the spinner. When you click it, it'll give you either a plus, minus, multiple, etc., all that other stuff. You can't see the rest, but they're there. So minus is there, so there's 5 different operations, and a second number. You click calculate, and it should do the math for you here. You click clear, and this should clear, this should clear, this should clear, and you should put the focus there. Does that make sense? If that's too hard, make them all buttons. Now, if you make them all buttons, it's going to be a little harder. So if you don't like the way, if you're like, yeah, I made them buttons, but it was real hard to line, I don't care how you lined it up. I really don't. All right. Does that make sense to both of you? So I will run this off. It's over 6 pages, but I will run it off. And as of right now, tomorrow we will like I said, we will go on and we will look at a couple other versions of this. All right. And after we do that, I might just bring up the one that works. All right. But after we do that, then Friday will be lab the entire period. All right. And probably so will Monday. Notice this is due then a week from Friday at the end of class. Questions on that? And probably sometime next week, maybe Wednesday, I don't know, you'll have your next test. Questions on any of that?
Is our next test, is it the same as it was last time where it's a take-home test? Or is it
what I'm hoping we can do, there's I think 2 problems on it, and I'm hoping we can do them in class if I give you the 4 hours. Now, if you say, hey, we both busted our butts and we couldn't get it to work, etc., then I might give you overnight and then give it to me the next day. All right. Other questions? All right. So what I'd like you to do is to just take a little time and see if you can work with it. Either look at the constraint thing that I just showed you, go find a constraint layout tutorial that's on YouTube, whatever you're comfortable doing. All right, I've watched several of them on YouTube, most of which were okay, but not great.